and you can answer your questions live, be part of the community. So today we have the incredible Matt Lackford has been kind enough to give up his time and join us. And I'm very looking forward to having a chat with him. We were just talking then. Matt said that he's been a little tired from work on Monday. Would you care to expand on that, sir? And firstly, welcome. Hello.
So, hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. And I always like first lockdown. I was like, I don't need to do exercise. And then second lockdown came, and I went, maybe I should be doing some exercise. And then third lockdown, I was like, right, I'm definitely doing exercise. So I always start my week with a nice half an hour yoga, led by my friend Nuna Silva. And so that's a good start to the day. And then I've taken on some work with a finance and investment company, doing some admin and just bits and pieces to help fill the day, earn some money, help some peeps. Yeah.
Are you in? So before I ask, like the origin story and how you came to get to this point, is that something you're enjoying doing? Because that is a little bit different to what you usually do or have been doing.
Yeah. Well, it kind of fell in the ballpark of something I touched, like I did a few years ago. So I actually sold insurance a few years ago, in sort of relocating from London to Leeds. I needed some extra money on the side, and so when I had like all my life insurance put in place, the guy went, "Oh, do you want to do this? The money's good." It's like, yeah, okay, I'll have a go at anything. I'll always try something out. And I did it for a bit, and then I was like, okay, cool. That's that. Next thing, moving on. And then it was just nice to it was just nice to come back to it. It's it's pretty straightforward. Sat at a computer, answering a phone, nothing earth-shatteringly complicated, not solving world peace or anything. It's just, it's good.
Good. So tell us, I'm going to ask you, people always feel a little bit weird about it, but I'm sure you understand the reasoning why it helps us like form, a little bit of depth about you as a character. People on here or watching back that have never heard about the myth, the legend, Matt Lackford before, then we're going to say, like, tell us, any detail is important. Take as much time as you want, but just tell us, even from like, we don't talk about that often, but childhood, upbringing, family influences, any life events that you think are relevant to what we might chat about. But yeah, in your own time, take it away. Tell us about Mr. Lackford.
Yeah, well, northern born, northern bred, thick in heart, thick in head. I think it's what it's going to say on my tombstone. Grew up in a small town not too far from where I live now, just outside of Huddersfield. I don't know. Oh God, it is. It's an odd one, this, isn't it?
Don't worry, it's difficult. So I can prompt you with more questions if you'd like it, like if you'd prefer it that way.
Yeah, it's all right. So my dad was a teacher. My mum stayed at home and raised me and my younger sister. And then as we got older, she started to go off and do more work, working with young and vulnerable children, with the council and other bits and pieces. And my dad was a teacher for special needs kids in SEN schools for many years. Went to state-run school, as you do, early noughties. It was all good fun and games. And then key things, I think I've always been a little mad, little quirky, always full of energy, always ready to do something or try something. And I think the way I sort of got into my career, as it turned out to be, was, he won't sit still. He won't stop singing. He won't stop shouting. He won't stop. Go to acting class. You'll be fine. You'll enjoy it. And then that was that. that was the path that I ended up stumbling down. And so started off in acting classes in Stuart Stage School in Hetmond, which is a few years ago now, and then did dance at school, drama at school for GCSE, went on to go to college in Leeds. Then being dyslexic, learning all these lines, trying to be an actor wasn't destined to be. And a couple of people went, "You're quite good at this dance thing. You should have a look at this dance thing." I was like, "Oh, sure, why not? I'll give it a go." Ended up in Scotland. Spent 4 years there, got my degree. It's where I met my wife. We then moved to London. I went to the Place. That's where I met just someone casual, the old Nathan Johnston. Get the shout out. And just followed dance. And then dance led to teaching. Teaching led to being at the Place and going on tour, and I don't know, starting to choreograph. My teaching led me into SEN work, so I work for Flamingo Chicks, which is now a charity who delivers creative dance workshops for disabled and vulnerable kids, which is really cool. And then got bored of spending £1,000 a month on rent. I was like, "Oh, let's move," and move back north. And then the rest is kind of history, really. And then more recently,
let's pause there for a second. Let's pause there for a second. You started off struggling, and then you give us a lot, which is really good. So things that jumped out to me interestingly is, there's this positive side of how you seem to be as a person, in the sense of that you're willing to try stuff, open-minded, jump in with energy, and look, even from the very beginning of the conversation, try something, see if it sticks. If not, be happy to move on. So jumping into drama initially, and then then following up with it's not perfect, and then just falling into dance. Have you ever wondered or thought about how much control you had of those decisions, if it was meant to be that sort of thing, or don't really think about it that way?
I don't know. I don't really think too much about. It really says a lot about me. I don't really think much about anything, really. Really simple. I don't know. There were choices. I did enjoy dance. I enjoyed being physical. Using my being physical every day. I enjoyed the discipline of it. I enjoyed the creativity of it, exploring alternate ways. Being dyslexic, words aren't my strongest skill, and so finding alternate ways to sort of express, communicate, and react with other people has always been, I think, something that sort of kept me going forwards with dance. And
did you ever find, was there any support of you or alternates when it comes to the acting industry or acting training, when it comes to that? Or was it just keep trying? You're clearly, this is not your strong point, but just keep trying. Was there any other ways have you experienced now in hindsight, or that seems like a fatal flaw for actors? You've got to be able to be good with words and reading, to be surely that there's so many talented actors that have gone by the wayside if that was the case.
Yeah, I think it's also the sort of, at that point, it was the, how do I say this? It was what the training I was given led me to, if that makes sense. So at that point, I hadn't really learned about improvisation. I hadn't really gone into devising work or live performance, spoken word, anything that actually that allowed me to use my skills in that way. I hadn't experienced it yet. And I think coming back to it later on from a physical point of view. So yeah, being told, "Oh, you're a dancer." Shh, this talks. Then coming back to it and being asked to do voiceovers, being asked to do some small little acting pieces here and there, or little spoken word experience, little project. It's hard to say.
So you did come full circle, come back to it but just from a very, very different approach.
Yeah, I think so. I just think ultimately, if we can create a way of performing that enables visual people who rely on audible communication, people rely on visual communication, people rely on physical or abstracts. I think, the more we can piece together a universal package for sort of communication, the more it sort of entices me and intrigues me. And I think dance, acting, music, art, pieced it all together. And
yeah, I've never really thought about that before, about like different, creating works that satisfy multiple people on the way that they predominantly like to like digest content. That is super interesting. I never even considered that, create, because for this content, for example, there's not much text. It's all a little bit visual and a little bit of audible. Like there's no interaction, there's no physical, there's no strong, there's no captions, there's no nothing like that. So, food for thought there, definitely.
yeah.
What about the link with? You mentioned that sounds like a wicked company that has turned into a charity.
So Flamingo Chicks.
Yeah.
So I don't.
You had that influence
how it started.
You had that influence from your mum as well. Like,
both my parents. So when my mum and dad met at a boarding school for special needs kids, and then voila, then me came along. But it's always been there. So whenever I was sick, Dad, at school, I'd always, "Oh, should we call your mum?" "No, I want to go with my dad." "But he's at school." Yeah. I'll go sit with my dad, because he had awesome lessons. They had motorbikes. He taught science in the weirdest ways. All the staff were really nice. All the kids were really lovely. And then it was the same on the other side as well. So my mum worked for Kirklees Council, and she went and looked after vulnerable children or parents that needed respite, or children that hadn't been officially diagnosed with any sort of ailment. However, with like peer support groups and stuff around them, had gone, "Oh, this sounds like it could be X autism or X or Y." And so that was my mum's job. And there were a few characterful children that we met and came to the house, and it was always nice just to have new people, new energy. Just I think inclusion is the word that I would have for my upbringing. Just inclusive.
It sounds like it, and then it's really set you up for being the right person to get involved with the projects like that. As in, you've got like probably some people, and people who are maybe less educated or less inclusive themselves, would probably it's like water off a duck's back to you at handling the situations, knowing like all these intricate things of dealing with these situations. So how much reward did you get from doing that thing? Give us a little bit more insight into maybe a couple of the projects that you did together.
So actually, it's just hearing it back. It makes me like I've just had moments and thoughts and memories of things that I've done, and I haven't realised how sort of integral it's been in my journey. So other projects I've done, I worked when I was training in Scotland. I don't even know what my role was. I worked for Scottish Dance Theatre in their education department. And while I was there, I met Caroline Bowditch, who is an amazing choreographer, artist, singer, and dancer. And every Saturday, oh, sorry, she's also she's a disabled artist as well. But we ran a class every Saturday, and I always, it was just awesome to be part of. And we took she choreographed works, and we took the work to Glasgow, and we got performed in Edinburgh, and then other works. While I was teaching, I ran free school workshops at a school in Islington at Samuel Rhodes. And I think ultimately around about that point of doing the workshops in Islington, my wife at the time was working for English National Ballet, teaching for them. And she did a taster workshop for flamingo chicks. And then that's how that seed sort of got planted. And then Sam started teaching for them. And I think ultimately, if Sam goes off in one direction, I'll go, okay, cool, let's go. And then it was, oh, Matt, you could teach a class. We've got a boys project, or can you come and volunteer for me at one of the schools? And it's like, oh yeah, sure, let's go along. And yeah, I've done some mad projects with flamenco chicks. We've taken one school to perform at what is it called? At Northern Ballet, what's the theatre called? Doesn't matter. They go and they perform there 2 or 3 years in a row, which is really cool. I've gone to Bristol, which is where Flamingo Chicks is based, and I have done a whole afternoon of science-based / movement workshops at We the Curious, which is I think it's a National Museum for Science and Curiosity, which is really absolutely mad when I start to think about it and put it into perspective. And just as lockdown came in, I was supposed to be going to the NEC in Birmingham to deliver 3 days worth of workshops with Flamingo Chicks, the other charity that our CEO Katie Sparks runs, called the Lightyear Foundation. I was going to go teach science dance workshops for 3 days in the NEC in Birmingham, which was absolutely mad, which has been postponed. So hopefully at some point in the future, when the world starts turning, we'll get back and get going with it again.
Once again, like, the theme of inclusivity is just like screaming so loud in your journey, and the fact that, even now when you're teaching science through dance is like, it's incredible. Like, imagine the and I really think that you're being very modest and underselling all the stuff you do, just for the record, which is owed to one, how normal it is to you, and I'm sure like doing these things wouldn't be as normal to other people, and just thinking of how much benefit people can have of. Some people sat in a science lab or at a school wouldn't just go in one ear out the other, and it'd be nothing. But it's probably changing their lives in the sense of not only learning the content, but filling them with confidence that I can do things. Things can be approached and attacked from a different avenue. Just like you're acting yourself, but then instilling and passing on those lessons, whether it's subconsciously or not, whether you realize that you were. It's pretty impressive.
Oh. Yeah, I think ultimately it's, can I do something to make someone's life any better? I think it's all quality of life things, whether you're dealing with yourself or a fully able-bodied person, or anyone who has any special requirements, is, can I do something to meet those requirements and help make that easier? because it's no skin off my back to have to adapt what I need to do just to make sure that I can fulfill the needs of another human being. It seems really odd when I have to say it like that.
Yeah, it does. But the sad reality is that not everyone thinks like that.
No, I know. Yeah, it is. Sorry, just FYI, it's a cat that will just not leave me alone. This is what this random constant movement is.
That's fine. I just thought it was part of a lesson you were teaching me with movement.
Yeah. I've got wandering arm syndrome, and no, it's just just a big cat.
So that brings us to your story where you said that, understandably, how do you feel about relocating from London, and where a lot of people feel a lot pressured to be as a performers and stuff like that? Was it refreshing or way off when you relocated? How was that transition? And obviously moving away from friends as well, it includes that.
Yeah, I think there's so many different levels to look at it. Ultimately, it was a massive culture shock. It really was. I was so used to being needed. I held several jobs, as most freelancers do in like the performing arts. You'll be holding out for your performing, but you'll have teaching and you'll have reception work, and you'll have the odd bit of workshops that come up with odd, like here, there, and everywhere. And I was working at the Royal Opera House as well, sort of doing admin / learning some of the producing roles for the Royal Ballet Company. So yeah, I went from being really busy to like you can get anywhere in an hour, but up here, bus only comes once an hour, and I can't cycle the 25 miles into Leeds and back and teach 4 or 5 hours worth of dance all at the same time and cycle home again. So everything, the pace just sort of like fell off a cliff, which was nice. It was nice, but it was quite quick to me that I enjoyed being busy. I quite selfishly, I did enjoy being wanted. Like I had teaching at several different universities and projects, and I was quite happy with where I was going in my career. But I ultimately think it was the right choice at the right time to relocate. Yes, it led to some changes. I wasn't so busy, but the work I did do fulfilled me in a different way. I enjoyed the fact that having no money wasn't so much of an issue, because living costs are much cheaper up here. I didn't have a car, didn't need to get on the tube, didn't need to get on the bus really. It enabled me to do other things and lead me to other areas in my life. So I finally learned to drive at the age of, how old am I now? 33, 30, I think it was.
Yeah,
maybe just less. I can't remember.
Yeah, I only learned to drive like 2 years ago myself, so I'd have been 28. I still drive now like I'm a 17-year-old.
Yeah. I got married, which was absolutely insane. We went on honeymoon to Vietnam, and then this is kind of where it takes a bit of an odd turn. Like you have all this, you have this pace, and you've got you buy a house. Admittedly, I do it all in the wrong order. So, bought a house.
Well, that's
got married, learned to drive,
pressure, isn't it? There's no right order to do these things. It's just what we think.
By
the way, just for timeline wise, how ahead of lockdown was relocating? Was it years or months?
5 years. Yeah, like 5 years and 4 months or something.
So you're really really ahead of the curve of learning that lesson, which everyone learned last year about being busy and being wanted, and then everything gets pulled away from you, and you go, I already know this one, guys.
Yeah. It was like, we have to spend a year in your house. I've spent the last 4 years in my house. Oh, look, gaming, isn't this fun? This beard does not grow from being busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 5 years. So
I interrupted you.
just
Sorry. Then
no,
you
it's
said.
all right. So yeah, we got married in 2017, Sam and I, and we went on our honeymoon. And just before we went on our honeymoon, oh, so context, I was selling life insurance and sort of personal insurance, and I'd not long taken out my policy. And then Sam and I got married. We went on our honeymoon, and on the way home, I wasn't very well. I was like, that's really odd. Oh well, carry on. And then a few months later, I was like, right, this isn't for me anymore. I'm not enjoying the insurance, so I'll go back to teaching. And I helped a friend in a local business and was making sort of like rugs and runners and working in flooring and all sorts of other bits and pieces, websites and social media and anything that would make me money, I would have a go at. And then that year, I felt, oh, my body's changing, man. I think it's that thing of, I'm starting to feel old.
Yeah.
You know, when you go, oh no, that didn't hurt last time I did this. And so I had other things that I was aware of. I've got so I get these like fatty lumps, and I'm like, oh, some of these are really uncomfortable. I'll go to the doctors. I'll wait until they're a bit bigger so that we can see them. And now looking back, I see the warning signs. So I went to the doctor, and she was like, "Okay, so what can I do?" I was like, "Oh, I've got these fat lumps. Some of them are in like I've got one where you rest your arm on a desk. It's a bump. It's horrible." She was like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and I was like, "Oh, I've got this one on my neck as well." She went, "Yeah, we're going to get you an appointment at the hospital for that. You know, just in case, because there's loads of nerves under there." She was really good. My doctor was absolutely brilliant. Looking back, yeah, there's loads of nerves under there and lots of blood vessels. It'd be quite complicated. We'll just go get an ultrasound and see what's what. And I was like, yeah, cool. Did not think a thing of it. Nothing at all. I was like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm run down. I've got these weird lumps. Yeah, I'm fine. And it was around that time I had my ultrasound, and the guy just went, "Do you have night sweats? Have you lost any weight? Do you have problem eating? Have you got any? Do you have problem bleeding?" I was like, "No, no, no, no." And I remember coming out of the ultrasound appointment, I was like, they think I've got cancer. I do remember around that time looking in the mirror and going, yeah. So now I'm starting to piece it together, and I ultimately from the ultrasound they went, I hope you're free in, I think it was 3 days, 4 days. Hope you're free in 3 or 4 days because you need to go see a hematologist. I was like, oh, okay, this is quite serious now. So
And for those who don't know, I don't actually know what that word means. Hematologist.
it's blood doctor.
Okay.
So I went to see my hematologist, and she went, "Oh, okay. So I think I can never get this right because it's pretty much all white noise. I think."
You were in shock. You were like,
Yeah,
when
it
you
is.
emotionally, you said you were completely fine, and then you start to realize, okay, they're taking it quite seriously. Why are they taking it so seriously? What could be wrong? And now you're in starting to seriously get
It
worried.
is. I was definitely put on the back foot, so to speak. I go in, I meet this doctor, Dr. Thaler. She is lovely. She's still my doctor to this day. And she goes, okay, so with your age, with your symptoms that you're presenting, or the lack of symptoms you're presenting, we think it is, and I can never remember which one it is. It's either a Hodgkin's or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's the most common cancer with young men your age. I was like, okay, what do we do?
Is that a good thing or not? Like, is that
Well,
treatable?
also,
You know?
yeah, it is. So it would be. I almost said just. It would be standard chemotherapy, depending on what my biopsy results came back with, for anywhere between, I think it was 3 or 6 months. So I was like, okay, that's actionable, that's fine. And out of all of this white noise, I do remember my wife's going, well, it's Christmas in like 6 days, so when's this biopsy going to happen? And my Macmillan nurse, Rebecca Ramsden, went, I'll go have a word with someone. And then she came back and she went, right, you're booked in for your biopsy tomorrow. Be at the hospital at 7 a.m. So, okay. So on the 18th of December, I got up at, what I think was like 6, got to the hospital, and then about 10:30, I had my biopsy on the neck here. And that was it. They were like, right, enjoy Christmas. It's going to take 2 weeks to get your results back. And that is the face I had. What?
Yeah.
So yeah, Christmas was fun.
So this wasn't this last Christmas. It was Christmas before that, right?
So yeah, this was 2019.
Christmas 2019.
Yeah. So yeah, I went off.
The worst Christmas, I guess.
Yeah, it was intense. It was intense. So my parents live in Scotland, and Sam's parents live down in Cambridgeshire. So we do the rounds. We alternate, and yeah, it was intense. Like we told the families. I told my parents. Sam told her parents, and we chose to limit how far we let that information go. So yeah, at that point we hadn't told my sister. We hadn't told my then 84-year-old gran. We hadn't told a lot of Sam's family. And I remember getting to New Year, we went to see my family. My parents knew, and we had time together, and we were talking about it quite a bit. And then on the way home, I got a call saying, your results have come back early and you need to come in. And at that point, I was like, it's not a good tone. It's not as chirpy as they were when we followed up with, okay, so like, what are we doing over Christmas? This is how it works. What services do I have to, like how? So it's Macmillan that supports me, and they were always on the phone, really chirpy. But this had a different tone to it. So on the 14th of January, I was diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, CLL, which is the most, I'm pretty sure it's this right. So it's the most common cancer for people in their 70s. So it's very common in 60 plus, and it's common in 55 plus. And there's I don't even know what the statistic is for being diagnosed on your 30th birthday. And I having been on the forums and sort of did a bit of research into this, there's only a few people that have actually been diagnosed younger than me. So yeah, that was an interesting,
to say the least.
Yeah,
thanks for that
one. Yeah, so that, I think that's the biggest thing that's ever happened to me.
Talking before we get into it a little bit more, I'm assuming that you are of the mindset. You know, you hear the words cancer a lot. I also had read research recently saying that, you know, cancer numbers are diminishing, and I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, oh, it's terrible, but it won't happen to me, or you know, like you just don't think of it like that, do you?
Yeah, that's the thing about statistics. It's 1 in 2 people. It's 1 in 2 people, and straight away out of I don't know what this is, but straight away I was like, well, I'd much rather it be me than Sam. I'd much rather it be me than my sister or my parents or my gran. I'd much rather it be me than our friends who've all got kids, or I'd much rather it be me. That was it.
It's very altruistic of you.
Well, I would. I think. Yeah, I don't know what it is. And I ultimately, off the side of that, I was like, well, I need to do something creative with this. I can't just. It's not just going to take from me, as it has taken from so many other people and so many other families, without it getting too intense. There has to be something to be done with this.
Yeah, of course. Like it just from. I mean, if I had. For those who don't know, Matt and I do know each other. He mentioned our very good mutual friends, so we've met a handful of times over the years. And, you know, if I hadn't known you, and I would have definitely done the guesswork that you would have taken this and, you know, try from this conversation, try and do something good and positive with it. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit about, you know, from that moment forward, treatments, your feelings, like how,
Yeah.
what is, what's the status right now, and you know.
So from that moment, they said you're on what's called a watch and wait protocol, which is quite literally they just monitor you. So you're diagnosed with this life-changing disease, and it seems odd, but it makes sense now. I'm in it, and I'm in the system. It makes sense.
Okay.
So it's what I have. So chronic lymphocytic leukemia is I think it's my B lymphocyte. So it's my white blood cells. So it's my immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere in my body, in my bone marrow is making the wrong type of cell, and that's quite, on a super layman's terms, that's what it is. And ultimately, it's produced so many times that it now only makes those cells. So that's what led it to be a leukemia. So my symptoms were, I started to get these lumps. They weren't obviously my lymph nodes. I had a couple of lumps on the side of my pec. I had a tennis ball in my stomach by the time I got to be diagnosed. I'd started to go grey because I was becoming anemic. So the more cancer I make, the less red blood cells I have in my body, because it's overpopulated as it is. So it doesn't think the blood production needs to be there. I couldn't walk up 3 flights of stairs, which was fun for a dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not only that is you've almost had what you do as a living, your identity snatched from you also in a very quick period of time.
Yeah, it did feel like that, and especially on the watch and wait protocol, because I had commitments. I was teaching at Northern. I was teaching for Flamingo Chicks and doing a couple of other projects and bits and pieces. But ultimately, I started to withdraw from all of these things. I took on, so my.
Did you tell people why, or did you just back away?
I think also, all right, so it's going to sound really weird. It's not really weird, but I really enjoy working with my friends. So I think, yeah, those who I were working with are close enough to me that I thought I have to be honest with you. This is what it's going to be. And I really did consider having to leave dance. That choice would be taken away from me. Having to leave physical activity would be taken away from me, because there's no guidebook on how I will develop. So as my doctor put it, if I was 75, they'd find the best way to make me comfortable. If I was 60, they'd find the best way to give me 10 years. If I was 55, they'd find the best way to extend me as long as I could. But at 30, they didn't really know what to do. Which again, that being presented with your mortality.
That's not very comforting, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. but at that point, I was put forward for a clinical psychologist to start, as I really had. By the time it got to February was okay, and I'd started to decline. One of these little things of, oh, I'm just going to go for a nap. I'd really started to take a step down. March was difficult. I took on my last dance project for a while after that, with some friends over in New York. And I remember getting to the end of the first week and I felt like death. Yeah, it was really physically draining. It was emotionally draining. And I was completely open with everyone. Hi, my name's this. Hi, my name's that. Hi, my name's Matt and I've got cancer. It's not a great opener, but everyone I've told has been so supportive. They've always been, what can we do? How can we enable you to do the best you can do? What do you need from us to help you do what you need to do? Which is humbling. I think humbling is the best way I can say. But after March, I remember getting to the end of the second week, and that was it. I was really bad. I had to sleep maybe twice a day. The stairs became an issue. Exercising, just general mobility, getting out and going to the shops or walking up a hill was quite difficult. And yeah, it was at that point, sort of April time, that my doctor went, right, we now know what we need to do. You're either going to go on chemo, and we will develop a treatment plan for you, or you can go on a clinical trial. The clinical trial is a computer-generated treatment. So that is comprised of one option being standard chemo, one option being ibrutinib, and one option being what I think is a combination of ibrutinib and venlafaxine. Some of these drugs have weird names. So it was decided for me, and I got ibrutinib. So I think it was like 3 or 4 days before I got the results. I drove to Scotland. I told my gran, my sister. That was a horrible, horrible weekend. But it felt positive. It wasn't a negative experience. I think each step I've taken in sort of opening up and sort of letting people in has helped push me forwards and accelerate me forwards. And then I got given ibrutinib, and my doctor said that's the best choice we could hope for you. We were that's the one thing we wanted. She went, the downside is you're gonna have a bone marrow biopsy in 12 months' time. Yeah, we'll get there. So she went, take 3 pills, 3 pills once a day, and some antibiotics. Within 3 days, I was 100% better. Within a week, I had to go back, and all my lumps had gone. My blood production had started again. I was really anemic still, but this is how amazing this drug is. And there's now developments on this drug, and there's now developments of this clinical trial. So I'm very, very privileged and very super lucky to have this amazing thing. And there was very little in terms of symptoms. Now, as I've gone on and I've hit the 2-year mark, there are things that I just generally have to live with, which is okay. I'm happy to live with them. So I suffer with fatigue, and I never really understood fatigue until experiencing it. Like, I've been tired, and I've been to the point of just going, right, I need to sleep immediately.
Yeah.
But this is something else. This is a level of exertion that just makes no sense. So this is why I'm tired today. So at 3 o'clock, I call it the fog. The fog descends. I will be working fine and dandy. Emails, bang. Phone calls, bang. 3 o'clock, Matt's gone home. The brain just
checked
stopped
out.
working.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you read a sentence and then you go, what did I just read? But it's one of these things.
Brain fog plus dyslexia is not a great combination.
Yeah, no, and it's not when you're trying to read legal documents as well. It's really bad. But yeah, so other things, I get joint pain in small joints. That's manageable. I get abdominal discomfort. The main one is I bleed really easy, as with most leukemias. It's it's become a fear. I will openly share that. A
fear of like cutting yourself or having a bleed kind of thing.
Yeah. So bleeding is I'm very aware of my limbs and my digits. So when lockdown came in, I started shielding on the 14th of March, and we moved into this house that we're in at the moment on the 3rd of March, and we had no heating, no hot water, no. The house needed a rewire. It was full of someone else's stuff because it was a repossessed property. So lockdown 1 was good fun, and I had several accidents. I sliced through my thumb. I had splinters, cut my fingers on saws, and just plaster, and as you do. But every cut is really
a issue. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. It's something I'm always very aware of.
Which is it's not nice to, something that you took for granted. You wouldn't even cross your mind now. Crosses your mind a lot of the time.
Yeah. So as once I got back once I was on ibrutinib, I slowly started to return to dance. I had to adapt what I do. I work in floor work. As I say in layman's terms, I wear baggy trousers, a baggy jumper. I sweat a lot, and I roll on the floor for a living.
Not to be confused with you actually were doing floor work as well. That you were doing
actual sanding floors and laying floors and all sorts of stuff. So
to create your perfect environment for dancing around on it.
Yeah. There's still a few too many splinters though. Just like catching a graze on your arm, or like catching your foot, or having like a friction burn, or it's one of these little things that you just go, it's fine, I'll put a sock on, became actually quite worrying. So the risk of infection with someone with a compromised immune system is quite complicated. I'm constantly learning to adapt, but there are other things that aren't symptoms that come along with it. So the fear of cutting myself, the fear of infection, and then the fear of infection became even more heightened when the government went, stay in your house for 6 weeks. This is not good. Yeah. So that's
like extra pressure, extra fear with everything that's gone on. It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
But there have been positives from that.
Yeah, let's No. Thank you for just your temperament and your outlook is just very clear to see to everyone. It's very inspiring, mate. I'm just very aware of time. We've almost hit the hour mark already. We can go.
Yeah.
No. It's been really amazing and beautiful, and we can go over by a little bit. That's absolutely fine, as in everything keeps running. Luckily, it used to cut out after an hour now, so we're good. But I'd love to talk about, if you want to touch on the bone marrow thing, then hit us with that. But then let's talk about, your Instagram handle is now more obvious to people who are watching, of Matt the Living With Project. Tell us a little bit about how you're trying to put a positive spin on things as well.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the bone marrow biopsy first. That's really good fun. So the poor guy that had to do this biopsy to me. It was like, I don't know why you're moaning. I was like, because you're going to shove this corkscrew into my hip and pull out my bone marrow. He was like, I do this to children. Like, I'll get on the bench. Yeah, it was
a really good bedside manner then, for one. Yeah, thank you for that.
He was really everyone I've come across that has had to, I say had to, basically anyone I've come across in the NHS that has supported me and has been there while I've had a procedure done or while I've needed any support, it's always been there. I think I'm, as odd as I am, I think it's really easy to go, oh, he's a simpleton. We'll talk. He'll be fine. Well, I think I can connect with people quite easy. And this guy was like, right, this is how it's going to go. I do this to children, so you just need to get on the bed, hug your knees, and it'll all be over soon. It was horrible. But other members of staff, when I've had CT scans, they always go, oh, you've got lovely hairy arms. Not anymore. Masochists, a lot of them. But everyone has been really supportive, and they adapt really well to you and your needs, and the whole team that supports me really has. Whenever my doctor comes in, she always sees me. She goes, "How are you?" I go, "I'm good. How are you? What's new? What's what?" And the first 2 or 3 times that I met her, she was like, I don't know how to react to that.
Yeah.
Really easy. Just be yourself. I think that's it. Just be yourself. So anyway, regardless of that, so the Living With project is...
Yes, please tell us.
Is the sort of creative way, the way that made sense to me to potentially just demonstrate what it's like living with cancer, to be open, to have the tough conversations, as awkward as it makes me feel, and as awkward as I'm hyper aware of how it makes other people feel. Everyone has an experience, or will. Hopefully not everyone, and one day they won't have to, but people do have experience with cancer, and as horrible as it is, cancer takes. It ultimately takes. So I want to help get rid of some of that stigma. I want to lead by example. This is what I can do. This is how far I'm willing to push myself. These are all the things that I can do. How can I help you do the same? Or how can I help you exceed me? I think is a better way of doing it. How can I make it easier for the person who's diagnosed after me? How can I help it? How can I help? I think it's just, how can I help? That's it. If I can demonstrate and help facilitate or put a smile on someone's face when they're having what can be the worst day in most people's lives, then if it costs me that moment of humility, if it costs me that moment of awkwardness, if it costs me that moment of, I don't know, if it doesn't cost me, it's fine. It's just what it is.
I understand why it's difficult to round that point off, because it's like it's an ongoing thing, and something that you're learning and discovering about yourself as you try and project it outwards to help others. So it's very much it is the name is perfect because it's living with. It's a progress and a process. It's not this is what the project is. It's an all encompassing thing. I think Nick backed me up and said about how amazing you are talking, and how amazing you're making other people, especially like me. I mean, I don't tend to get super awkward when it comes to difficult conversations. This is why I'm doing mental health. But I know from a fact, from the way that you're talking is so palatable, and what's the right word to use? I don't know. Just the demeanor is you're the perfect person to, you understand communication so well, but don't not overcomplicating it, keeping it simple. So it's incredible. I know I'm kind of interrupting you. I just feel like I want to get this stuff off my chest and make sure I can say it too.
Oh no,
But
I mean, yeah, it's your show, so I'll be quiet.
no, don't be silly, don't be silly. But it's also, you said you're going to use some of the things with it, like the science and movement. Are you using movement to educate as well?
Yeah, I think ultimately for me, being physical, I will go back to dance. I will use my training to um, come at it from, I think, a different perspective. I I want to return to dance because I want to know what I can do, and I want to know how I can live with this. And I think being in contemporary dance, there are so many techniques, so many so many ways to approach the same project. I think also same problem. Um, that sort of explanation and willingness to learn and willing to adapt and willing to think outside the box, so to speak. It's just, yeah, it keeps me coming back. So um, yeah, I've got a few things like swirling around the head. And I was like, yeah, lockdown two's over. Arts Council application. Oh, there's a third lockdown. Right, fine. That's written. That'll go when when it's safe to go do so. But yeah, I really struggle when it comes to talking about the projects, because at the moment this is as far as I've got. This is the safest way for me to sort of facilitate this conversation in a less physical way.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah,
But basically, you're saying that there's much more to come, and you want to endeavour to do more communicating,
yeah,
with people around you. Like Nathan, our mutual friend, has just said, Matt, you have definitely made me so much more comfortable talking about cancer and the issues surrounding it. Like that is, these are really fucking valuable lessons. Like, and you're using anyone else in the same position. I know I would probably crumble. I wouldn't have the energy or the the mental resilience to do what you're doing. And I'm sure there's times when it gets tough, and I'm sure there's times when
yeah, yeah. It is tough. It is. Everyone will react to it differently. But as soon as I thought about being creative with it and using everything that came up to that point to help facilitate this, I found like-minded people.
you like
And there's
attracted it
always,
towards you. Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. It's like cars when you go, oh look, I'm thinking of getting this car, and then every other car that passes you on the street is that exact same model. It's you get what you put out there, I think. And I think ultimately I'm supported, is what I think. This is the best way to describe how I am doing what I'm doing. The support from my wife is incredible. Just the time, the patience. She deals with all sorts of crap from me that she shouldn't really have to. But she's always there. She's always listening. She's always ready to help solve a problem, or to help facilitate some way for me to get for the cogs to start working again. My family, Sam's family, and ultimately the people that deal with it the most are my friends. They are the reason, because it's not just you who's diagnosed with cancer. Cancer is yours. It is genetically yours. You don't inherit it. But it's not just you that's diagnosed. When I was diagnosed, it was anyone that was close enough to me to get this news was diagnosed as well. My diet changed, my energy changed, my requirements changed, my ability to fulfill specific parts of our friendship that I used to be able to do, whether it's joining in an activity, going in and being part of a project, going in and supporting with, I don't know, like going and helping a friend move house, Nathan, and it's just everyone was diagnosed with me, and everyone's willingness to adapt and change and support and just willingness to take this journey with me, I think, is the reason why it's I find it easy to do what I do, or why it is easy for me to sit here and openly go, hi, I'm Matt, I'm living with cancer, and that's okay. Talk to me. How can I help?
Yeah. Wow.
That's all I can do.
Wow, man. It's really powerful, and I can see that, that obviously your support network's good, but don't let that take anything away from yourself. Like it's good that you have that. I don't want to use the word coping mechanism, but it's just a beautiful way to go about it. And I think I'm a believer in that things are much better. People are more open, willing to talk about things, but there's stigmas around lots of things, and I don't particularly even like the word stigma, but that just says a lot about me in general. But yeah, the things I've really learned. I've learned this evening from talking to you, and I now you put this out and people have seen it. I'm sure they'll feel a lot more comfortable talking to you about it, because there must be. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something I want to finish on is you must feel awkward if there's like a sort of elephant in the room vibe from people, and they're like tiptoeing around, not knowing what to say. What's the approach that you prefer?
I think from my experience, there's two ways that people approach me or approach sort of cancer in my experience. Please, that has to be really taken into consideration. Is people will avoid me or avoid it. People do not want to talk about it, especially the mortality bit. I've made some jokes, and some people just can't handle it, but that's okay. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I haven't yet found the right way to communicate with those people. And then the other people they will be open and listen to me, then / share their experience, which is it's a lot. And
you don't want to be a dumping ground for everyone's. It's a lot to take that in as well. Like emotionally.
Yeah, it is. It's not that. I don't know. It's hard for me to say no, and it's hard. It's been the hardest lesson I've learned, and I think it's one of the lessons that I will endeavor to teach my friends, my family, my children is it's the hardest lesson is to say I can't help you right now because I do not have the capacity to help.
Yeah. I think that's a really important distinction and lesson, in the sense of I want to have this conversation. I want, and I think it's really important. I just need some time. I can't do it right now. I haven't got my glass isn't full enough to take this on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing either of us justice if I was to approach it at this point in time. And I think that is really that's a lesson that took a long time. It's only recently that I've had that sort of I can't help you right this moment in the way that you need me to help, because I just don't have it in the tank. I don't have it to give, and I certainly don't have it to take. Oh, excuse me. But it doesn't mean I won't ever forget. I'll always go back when I feel like I am ready to take it and listen. Why not? It's only listening. I'm not. They don't ask me to solve problems. They don't ask me. Yeah, it's funny. People don't ask you for anything. I find It's just listen. That's it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Matt, I can't thank you enough for, I found it really powerful myself. I think there's been some really important lessons. I think your attitude and aptitude, is incredible. I just can't thank you enough. I think it's really powerful, and I hope a lot of people who need to do get to see this. It's out there now. It'll be saved, and you can share it and do whatever you want. And hopefully, it's been. I always like to think, even if it just helps one person, it definitely helped me. If it's hopefully it's been nice, cathartic to speak the journey out loud in a condensed form as well for you.
Condensed. Sorry. Condensed is taking an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, it is. And I just think the last thing I'd like to say is I just want to thank you again. This is an amazing platform, especially with everything that's going on recently. The sort of, again, horrible word, but the stigma of being a man and not being able to talk and not being open. And I think, yeah, you offer something out there that is going to support so many people, whether it's to do with my subject or some of the previous conversations that you've had with some very, very clever, open, wholesome men, women, people, human beings. Yeah, thank you for having me. I've really, it's been a brilliant experience. Yeah.
Wicked, man, wicked, and so helpful. And I'm planning. I've got a little thing up my sleeve that I want to do. An education series potentially on Clubhouse, if you know what that app is. And I want to like teach, not as in me teaching, but I've got nothing really to teach. I'm just here to listen and ask questions. But I mean, I want to do a series, like you said, of like someone to come on and how do you deal with someone with cancer, and this is somebody from somebody with cancer's point of view, and learning, from people from different sexes, orientations, disabilities, all this sort of thing. So I would love to have you back when we sort that series out on Clubhouse. I think it's just really, it's kind of what you're saying. It's just really important of, these are, and there's going to be different opinions, and like you're saying, it's from your opinion. But if we get a well-rounded conversation going, I think these are really important lessons in life, and to know that okay, we can do better. We can learn about. There's so many things we don't. Even when you were saying about, you said like full able-bodied, like the right language and stuff to use when you're talking about people with disabilities and stuff. I just think all that stuff's really important.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I would love to. Yeah, anything I can do to further our conversation, count me in.
For sure, mate.
And if anyone,
maybe should go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to do the shameless thing. And if anyone, wants to chat about any of the things that I've talked about and that Elliot has been, so caring to give me this platform, let us know. Get in touch. Drop them in the DMs.
Yes, go follow.
I'll always listen.
Yeah, really good. As in Matt, the Living With project. Make sure you go follow him, and we'll be following stuff. I probably should have done that bit about getting you to do something off air, but it just felt right, But yeah, definitely go follow him and share the journey. And it sounds like it's going to be, the way, an inspiring one at the very least. So, thanks again, Matt, and I'll speak to you in 1 second.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you later.
Bye.